Yes, and
Welcome, everybody, to the Transportation Committee meeting on July 17th. If we have the translator present, can you please describe our translation services?
Good morning. Announcement from the interpreter. To use interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenos días. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo y seleccione Spanish. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups, the Kumaya, the Genyo, the Losueño, the Capueño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now please join me for the pledge. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Francesca, can you confirm we have a quorum?
Thank you, Chair. We do have a quorum.
Perfect. With this, we'll start moving into the agenda. For the purposes of meeting efficiency, I've asked that speaking time be limited to 2 minutes, with the exception of the consent calendar, while we will have 1 minute for items on the consent calendar with speaking time. With that, Francesca, can you call our first public speaker for non-agenda public comments?
Thank you, Chair. If you're online and you'd like to speak on this item, please raise your hand now. We'll start with Purita Javier and then Cesar Javier.
Lakasan mo. Oh, tama-tama nandiyan siya. Okay.
Ito. Good morning. I am Purita Javier, senior with existing medical condition and victim of ceramics kiln toxicity since 1997. For 5 years of reporting and voicing our community problem, health, and safety issue on environmental hazards are or our lawful authority elected officials ignored and neglected it. We line in fear. We are hurt by this inaction, physically, emotionally, and even financially, since attending public meetings, community planning group, city, county, ABCD, SANDAG, we observe the following. Number one, physical development is heavy and fast. Number two, economics, business is priority, then health and safety.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Cesar Javier, followed by Blair Beekman.
In fact,
Yeah, excuse me.
okay,
We are not to apologize our capacity to voice our concern. We are victims of toxicity in a residential zone community. Martha, Divine Intervention is here, who witnessed us at the very beginning when we started voicing. She knows also when one of the board members shoved my hands and declared, out, out. I just put my hands to the shoulder as a brother, as a father, elder. And she shoved my hand. How could you be a member of the board when you do not respect diversity? How would I know? I was just trying to put my body language to a dear board member whom we are voicing our concern. We went to the next meeting, Councilor Rivera, and so on and so on. And the last meeting we attended, when your staff, Culina, a representative, I forgot the name, Mr. Javier, why are you the only one complaining? Well, the law says when you are not enjoying your life because of hazardous business, you can seek representation from lawful authorities. CPG is a revered organization, the root frontliner, learning about the issue in the community. Mr. Rivera, sir, my fellow citizen, City Heights is not working in favor of the people. It's only in favor of you. Martha is a witness. You have 3 chunks.
Thank you very much. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Blair Beekman, followed by the caller with the phone number ending in 3731. Thank you, Mr. Javier.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. Kumusta sa mga Javiers? Good luck sa mga isu sa kapitbahayan, which is hello to the Javiers, good luck with neighborhood issues. That's my Tagalog, practicing and trying. Blair Beekman here. I'm going to be trying to speak a few words. It can be really difficult for me to get through this. I hope it can come through clearly and have some patience. And if it isn't clear, I hope you can understand where I'm going with this. The city of San Diego, they have a very serious issue with their ALPR use. The practices that happened after or during the Islamic Center shooting in Claremont Mesa, they were bumbling around ALPR use in the Mission Valley shopping area. They were aware that they were around, but they were using ALPR use somewhere between the Mission Valley Shopping Center and the Islamic Center. They lost track of them. They couldn't bring a more clear reading. And I think that has to do with something to do with superstitions and social mores and civil protections and civil rights, where they, for some reason, couldn't be more clear with each other. And we're asking what the problem is and why couldn't they? And so we have to be developing as a community process how they can be more clear with each other in those sort of emergency situations. Yet at the same time, they cannot take advantage of those, of learning how to practice better communication in those times. You know, there's examples like the city of Oakland. They were taking people off buses using surveillance, you know, AOPR tech. I mean, they were pulling outlaws off buses. So there is a certain social standard they do have to practice, and we have to figure out that balance together. It has to be open and clear with each other.
Thank you very much. Your time has expired. Our final speaker on this item will be the person with the phone number ending in 3731. You can go ahead.
Hi there. Morning transportation suckers. It's Truth taking a break from my morning beach stroll. How dare you guys interrupt that? But the biggest sucker is terrorist Sean, who does not belong on any SANDAG committee, and he knows it. He's done nothing but wreak havoc upon this agency, and getting kicked off the board of directors was the best thing that ever happened to that board. We require the same for all public office seats he occupies. The last thing California needs is more ego, corruption, fraud, and hypocrisy, which brings me to a similar point. Taxpaying residents also have to waste money on something else unnecessary, meeting security. Isn't it ironic and hypocritical when NTS fails to find money for security on trolleys and at the stations? You see, it's security for me, but not security for thee. Meanwhile, this committee has recommended so many bad projects that make zero sense. Uphill bike lanes that almost nobody uses, in particular, Pershing, Uptown, 5th, 4th, and $30 million Imperial Avenue, just to name a few. It's shocking to see projects like $22 million red paint bus lanes. Such fraud, waste, and abuse to benefit the union campaign funders. Where are the discussions on evacuation routes, safer transit, more efficient transit connections, pothole repairs, ADA-compliant pedestrian crosswalks, high visibility crosswalks, or maybe more affordable gas prices and registration costs for the 97% who must drive to work 5 days a week? What about the dangerous conditions on the 67 I've been bringing up forever? TC and SANDAG on the whole have been conveniently quiet on what actually matters to the majority of residents while pushing what actually harms the majority of residents, both in design as well as financially. It makes one wonder if those on committees and boards are living on the same planet as us regular people. Well, don't worry, I've long ago confirmed that the answer is nope, they're not. And it's too bad that the majority who are busy working are kept so busy they don't even know how to run for office. But that is why I try to help the good people, at least to realize that they're out of touch, if nothing else. So, Salamat, I'm going to go to breakfast now on somebody else's dime. Isn't that great?
Thank you. Your time has expired. That concludes the public comments on this item.
Thank you. Mario, do we have an agency update?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Recently, Caltrans released the State of the Commute, where it shows different trends and highlights the travel trends in the region. Something that is of notable highlight is the average weekday transit ridership keeps increasing. So that's very encouraging. Also, the Flexible Fleet Grant Program call for projects is out right now.
Extended it.
And we have extended the deadline till July 31st. This is where microtransit and other programs are eligible. So for those who are interested, it was extended. The universities wanted to apply, SCSU, UCSD, so that was made available to them also. The state budget, as you all know, passed. Something that was important in the state budget was a clause that Senator Blake Spear helped put in there, where there was an extension of the $300 million for the LOSAN, that those funds were going to be expiring next year. So by having a 5-year extension, it allows us to invest and continue on the different projects like the LOSAN realignment and other projects. And it may also help release some other SB 125 funding to help North County Transit with their needs also. The Cabin Invest is still under negotiations. That it's an important piece of the transportation funding. So we are tracking those conversations. Something else that we're really tracking is the federal notice for proposed rulemaking from OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, that could have the potential of clawback broader clawback in any type of grants if it's not aligned with the federal administration. So that we're tracking that and see where that's going. Also, as CTC took important funding actions, they took a funding action on Otay Mesa East, and our board of directors also approved to move forward with the contract where we're going to be fully funding the northbound light traffic facility. So that guarantees northbound passenger vehicles is now fully funded, and the contract is approved to be executed with our contractor. So we're moving forward with a hopeful late 28, December 28 opening of that portion of the border crossing. Also, CTC took very important action on funding the San Dieguito double track project, $214 million. If you really combine all the different actions that happened between the budget and the CTC during that weekend, that Friday to that Monday, we're talking more than $600 million for this region that we were able to reshuffle, secure, and allocate. That's a huge win for all the project. Is Eastern Hillcrest Bikeway. We're working for the Pride Parade this weekend and the alternate routes through University near the active construction site. We know that we're taking some time on that project, but hopefully for next year's Pride Parade, we will be finished with that important piece of infrastructure. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Do I have any member non-agenda comments? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move ahead into the agenda. The first item is consent calendar. Francesca, do we have any public speakers on consent? And I would remind the public speakers that the two items are the approval of the minutes and the RTIP improvement amendment number 19. So try to focus your comments on those. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We have two speakers on this item. We'll start with Cesar Javier and then Blair Beekman.
3.1. It's a benchmark for connection today's discussion. Thank you, SANDAG. Growing Hope product. One example is we were surprised that the Lemon Grove planners, lawful authorities, has presented their mobility circulation before us. Thank you, SANDAG. It's a miracle, divine intervention that SANDAG is attending outside of their jurisdiction, if I may remember. Now they are budgeting 1.6 billion for 6.8 million for planning on affordable housing. What a surprise. 1.6 billion construction of new port of
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Blair Beekman. You can go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. I wanted to speak to the meeting minutes. First, Pasensya, Nasa Kawawang, Tagalog. Sorry for my poor Tagalog. I wanted to comment that on the meeting minutes of last time, you had three items, a couple items that were important to me. One is the rereading of the comprehensive fare ordinance you're going to talk about today. Also, important for me to learn, that the Transportation Committee has a really important role in this process. The Board of Directors has an important say as well, but it comes back to the Transportation Committee to work on it. So good luck how you can work on it. I hope that, to quickly offer and to conclude, that with Transnet funding ideas that were also in the meeting minutes last time, that Transnet funding can be used through the fall if you need to extend the fare ordinance study process in September. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments on consent.
Thank you. Do I have any Committee member comments? Oh, we do have a motion by the vice chair, but go
Move
ahead.
approval? Oh,
Would you like to second?
second, yes, thanks.
We have a motion by the vice chair, second by Mayor Sanchez. Seeing no other people wanting to speak, go ahead and please vote.
That motion passes unanimously with those members present.
Awesome. We'll now move on to item number 4, which proposes amendments to the Regional Transit Comprehensive Fare Ordinance. This is the second of the 2 readings for the Fare Ordinance amendments. The Transportation Committee voted on June 12th to waive full readings of the Fare Ordinance. To proceed, we need to read the title today and then to vote to approve the staff recommendation. I will read the full title: San Diego Association of Governments Comprehensive Fare Ordinance, an ordinance establishing a regional fare pricing schedule. With that, we'll hand it over to staff, and I believe Antoinette would like to kick this off.
Yes, before staff goes into the presentation, I wanted to maybe clear up again what SANDAG's role is with the fare ordinance and the process that we go through to make changes to the fare ordinance. So state legislation made SANDAG the consolidated agency, and as the consolidated agency, one of our responsibilities is the regional fare ordinance. Board Policy 1 delegates the authority to Transportation Committee over the fare ordinance and any fare ordinance changes. So that's why this body is responsible for approving the amendments. It's a 2-step process to approve changes to the fare ordinance. The first step was at your meeting in June. You were not approving the fare ordinance in June. You were simply approving waiving the reading of the fare ordinance. Today, you will be asked to approve the changes to the fare ordinance. So just wanted to kind of clarify why SANDAG's involved and what the process is, because I know there was a lot of confusion at the last meeting. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian to kick us off.
Good morning, committee. Clerk's team, the clicker's not working for me. I'm trying to, thanks. You had me locked out. Perfect. Good morning, Brian Lane, Senior Transit Planner. Tim Garrett can't make it today. He presented last time. Him and his wife are in the hospital having a baby, hopefully today. So congratulations to them. This is mostly the same as what we did here back in June. So I'm going to kind of move quickly through the slides so we can get to the discussion and the vote, hopefully on this item. But like Antoinette mentioned, we're responsible for the fares. This was requested by MTS and Entities Board to do a fare change study over 1.5 years ago. And the TC did propose, we brought the amendments and they were introduced at the June 12th Transportation Committee meeting. Just some reminders, the proposal from MTS and NTDD is to do a 2-phased fare change, one starting in October 1st, and then the second one in October 2020. The fare ordinance amendments do include some small changes, but some are big in terms of impact. The NCD is proposing to eliminate the coaster zones, and that should just make it much simpler for riders to not have to understand which zones they're paying in. We did change some language on the group passes, but the last 2 in here are kind of the most important. We do now, with the proposed amendments being approved today, the MTS entity could do promotional temporary experimental fares for a 3-year period to kind of get a longer chance to look at the impacts of those promotional fares. And then most importantly, we've added this section now to allow MTS and NCTD to do free and reduced programs. And so this slide already is a little out of date because MTS and both NCTD are likely considering, and their boards have approved, voting on a low-income fare freeze program. And I'm going to let Mary and Mark talk about that once I finish up my presentation, and they can provide you an update. I think that's what most of you came today to hear about, was an update on that program. Just a reminder, we did a lot of public engagement. This is probably the most engagement I've been involved in any of the programs I've worked on in my time here at SANDAG. We really did a lot of great reaching out to folks. It always could be better, but I think, we got tons of surveys. We did workshops, focus groups, pop-up events, heard from the community. I know my friends in the community don't think our survey was perfect. This is a hard topic to talk about, right? And we did ask, would you rather have a fare increase or service changes? And, when you put it like that, most people did say, yes, we mind a small fare increase if we can keep our service changes. It's not that simple. And Mark had done a lot of explaining about that, and Mark and Mary in past conversations that we've had. But we did get a lot of feedback, and ultimately, folks did kind of understand that, it's been a long time since we've had a fare increase, and they're ready for something to come. Nothing's changed since the June item when we brought the Title VI analysis. Still the same result with that, no significant adverse effect on minorities or low-income persons. But what is new in this item today is we do have to actually you have to approve a CEQA exemption. Fare changes are allowed as an exemption, but we just have to put a rubber stamp on that, and then our environmental folks will take that exemption over to the county, who can file it with the state. So our action today is the Transportation Committee is asked to adopt resolution number 2020-701 related to a determination that the proposed transit fare modifications incorporated into the amended comprehensive fare ordinance are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15273, and approve amendments to the comprehensive fare ordinance. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Mark and Mary to talk about what they've been up to since the last time we talked.
Mr. Chair, could I ask a question for clarification?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. When you say we conducted surveys, could you be a little more specific on which agency or which agencies conducted the surveys?
Right, all three of us. The whole process since February of 2025 has been a collaborative.
I just wanted to be clear that it wasn't, because you speak for SANDAG or you represent SANDAG, but I believe that you were including other agencies, but I wanted it to be clear.
Yeah, no, definitely. Even you can see the paraphernalia that we sent out it's branded Pronto, and MTS densities mostly branded on that, but it was a collaborative effort with the three agencies.
Thank you.
Yep. With that, I'll hand it to Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Mark Olson, Director of Marketing and Communications for MTS, and just wanted to give a brief update on the Pronto Low Income Fare Eligible or LIFE program. So at its June 11th meeting, the MTS board directed staff to develop and implement a fare freeze program for riders enrolled in CalFresh, Medi-Cal, and CalWorks. And the goal is to maintain current service levels for qualifying low-income riders while focusing on individuals who are not already served through existing MTS reduced fare programs. So since receiving that direction from the board, staff has made significant progress on this program. We've coordinated with County Health and Human Services on eligibility verification and data sharing requirements. We've developed preliminary enrollment procedures for the program, created branding and rider communications plans, and analyzed enrollment and revenue impacts, and begun the legal review of verification processes. So the target launch date is October 1st, 2026, to coincide with any fare changes that would happen if approved here. And we are happy to say that we are confident that we can get this program launched in a phase one effort for this program by that October 1st date. So under the program, eligible riders would continue to receive frozen MTS fares, including $2.50 for one-way fares, $6 for a daily cap, and then $72 for a monthly cap. Applications are going to be available both in person at the MTS Transit Store, as well as an online reduced fare verification process. So riders will submit documentation, receive a temporary approval while their formal approval is being processed, and then they'll go from there to be able to participate in the program. So the implementation has required extensive coordination between Pronto system vendors and technical teams and HHSA, but we've been working on this very hard to get it up and running by October 1st. And again, we're confident we can do that. Actually, the system needs to be in place before that because October pass sales go on sale September 20th. So we're going to have it ready by that date. So to support a successful launch, we're going to conduct a comprehensive outreach campaign that'll coincide with any fare change outreach that we need to do. And so we're really excited that we're able to get this program launched, and it represents an important investment in fare affordability and transit accessibility, definitely for low-income riders. And so we'll continue to work diligently towards that October 1st launch. So thank you.
Good afternoon. Good morning, Transportation Committee. My name is Mary Dover. I'm the Deputy Chief Operating Officer for North County Transit. I'll I won't add too much to Mark and Brian's comments, but I did also want to share that at its workshop yesterday, NCTD's Board of Directors did vote to participate in the Pronto Life program. So we will join all transit services in both transit systems in San Diego County will be offering this Pronto Life program.
Great, thanks for those updates. Francesca, do we have any public speakers?
Thank you, Chair. We do. If you are online and would like to speak on this item, please do raise your hand now. We'll start with Cesar Javier and then go to Guadalupe Rojas.
This is not the government of our Councilor District 9 Rivera, nor our CEO or the chair, but our government or governance. From conception to death, the provision of mobility in circulation is given very clear in our Constitution. And we would like to report to Councilor Rivera, our District 9 leadership, leading the governance in our community, to respond. One resident, Councilor Rivera, has died yesterday morning. And thank God, 100 years and 7 months. Fruitful life.
Mr.
A show
Javier,
window
as a reminder, please keep your
of
comments
a
limited to
pandemic.
item number 4.
I have still 52 seconds.
Yeah, Javier, just give me comments about the transportation fare proposal if you
This is
can. Thank you.
connected, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
I showed you from conception to death or grave, the government provides mobility circulation. We know that. It's here in our Constitution. And therefore, we request the following: seniors, sick and dying, the less, the veterans, less in life, students, pupil, be free in this kind of law we are proposing. In fact, we were taught that revenue or money, the government.
Thank you very much. Your time has expired. We have 11 additional speakers. Next will be Guadalupe Rojas, followed by Adrian Reyes Navarro.
Hello, everyone. My name is Guadalupe Rojas, and I am with Mitsurikian. As an organization, we appreciate the amendments presented, especially the fare freeze, since it could limit the impacts on increased fares on frequent riders. For vulnerable riders like those in City Heights, transit is not a commodity or a convenient alternative. It is a lifeline, and that is why there was a lot of opposition to the fare increases initially, but we're glad to see that those concerns were taken into consideration. And also thankful with Vice Chair Lee Rivera for proposing the fare freeze. Thank you for staying grounded with the community, not letting them carry the burden of the increased fares, which some of us can pay, but not all. Some colleagues here and I work with folks who barely have enough to pay rent and buy food. It is clear that there will be a loss in ridership because of the increases, in programs like YOP and the fare freeze could help retain the high ridership that the region has had. That is why we are in support of the proposed amendments for the fare ordinance and ask that you approve them. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Adrian Reyes Navarro, followed by Aria Grossman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adrian Reyes Navarro, and I'm a City Heights resident with Mitsurikian, heading to my third year at UCLA studying psychology with a minor in public health. I come here today to urge the Transportation Committee to approve the amendments, including the fare freeze program proposed by Sean Ila Rivera. I know firsthand that public transit is a necessity. Growing up, the trolley helped my mom get to work when I was a kid and to keep connected with family in Tijuana. When the Youth Opportunity Pass was introduced in 2022, I was able to take the bus and trolley for free to school, work, extracurriculars, and medical needs. Ultimately, my dedication to school and extracurriculars helped me get into one of the most prestigious universities in the country. But my story isn't unique. It reflects one of the many experiences that City Heights residents face. The public transit is a lifeline for us. If fares go up, students will be unable to access their needs. Workers will lose their access to jobs, and some families will be forced to make impossible choices between paying for transportation and paying for basic necessities. Keeping fares affordable means keeping young people, working families, seniors, and other vulnerable riders on transit. It means investing in the people who make NTS as one of the top performing agencies in the country. Please vote to approve the amendments proposed for the fare ordinance, including the fare freeze. Keep transit affordable, keep people riding, and keep opportunity within reach for communities like mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Aria Grossman, followed by Maria Cortez.
Good morning. My name is Aria Grossman. I'm the policy manager at Circulate Planning and Policy, and I'm speaking in favor of this item. It's nobody's first choice to make taking the trolley or the coaster more expensive, but we have to do what's necessary to keep the system running with high frequency and reliability. Our transit systems are facing a severe funding shortfall, and unfortunately, the only way to close the gap while maintaining as much service as possible is to raise fares. It's what we must do today, and I urge you to vote in favor of this fare increase. This fare change is intended to close a gap in the short term. We will still need to do a lot to address a structural deficit that will worsen in a few years' time. As you work to determine longer-term solutions, please pursue measures that do not place additional burdens on riders only. Sales tax referendums, pursuing state operations funds, and advertising are all solutions employed by other transit agencies across the country and should be explored. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Maria Cortez, followed by Angel Pippins Lopez.
Hello, my name is Maria Cortez. I'm a resident of City Heights, and good morning and thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you for the fare freeze, because this is something that we need, but I'm also against the fare increase, because our residents in City Heights depend on transit. They depend on taking their kids to school. I know this because I am out there every day and I see what goes on in the community. I'm proud to say that I'm glad that we are fighting to keep transit, not only just for our youth, but it's for our youth, our families, our veterans, it's for everybody. I'm out there and I see the people struggling to pay their rent, to pay their gas and electric bills. This is what's hurting us in City Heights. So to increase fares, I'm against that, but I'm also in favor of the fare increase. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time, doing the pop-ups, and also including the community, because in the past that did happen but didn't. And it just goes to show that together we can get things done. And by God, the fight isn't over with yet, because this is what we're here for. We're here for the community. The kids are our future. And this is what I'm advocating for, is for our future, because we are not going to be here the rest of our lives, as we know. But this is what our community needs. This is what our community wants. And like I said, I'm out there every day and I'm fighting out there, and I see the community that are trying to put food on the table, pay for their rent, and having the kids go to school, college, it's not cheap. And so this is what we're advocating for. And I just want to say thank you very much. And I'm against the fare increase, but yes for the fare freeze. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Angel Pippins Lopez, followed by Noel Garcia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angel Pippins Lopez, Transportation and Planning Program Manager at City Heights CDC, and I'm here to oppose the fare increases as they're currently being proposed. Throughout this process, outreach and survey options were limited and didn't allow the community to fully express their priorities. While some may have seemed in favor of fare changes when the choices were permanently slashing service or raising prices across the board, this process did not accurately present the range of possible approaches. Viable alternatives do exist. MTS and NCTD should explore proven strategies instead of across-the-board increases, like special event or high tourism area pricing that doesn't rely only on the city's core riders. There's also strong precedent for pursuing state funding and short-term financing while reviewing internal costs and improving efficiency, particularly by reassessing executive compensation before shifting costs onto riders. If fare increases do move forward, I'd urge MTS and NCTD to expand reduce fare programs for low-income riders. Any increase should be paired with concrete affordability protections, such as those proposed by Councilmember Elo Rivera, so that transit-dependent San Diegans are not priced out of the system they rely on for daily life. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Noel Garcia, followed by Tanya Ramirez online.
Good morning, committee, and thank you for having me. I am Noel Garcia. I'm involved community member of City Heights, and I want to address the utmost importance that the proposed amendments continuing YOP and the fare freezes are approved. As someone who has worked alongside and developed deep relationships with many of the lower income families of San Diego, these Opportunity Pass and lower income families in San Diego, my bad. Okay. Someone who has developed deep relationships with many lower class families in San Diego, the Youth Opportunity Pass and lower fares are crucial for them to thrive. Transit isn't just a trend to get around. It's not a vibe. It's not aesthetic. It's their literal lifeline. It's their access to healthcare, their jobs, their education, green and third spaces, artistic and cultured spaces, and important community spaces. And this is not just the case for low-income workers in San Diego, but also for the developing youth. Here in San Diego, the benefiting of youth should never be something that's monetarily negotiable. That is unacceptable. End of story. So I've seen firsthand of how higher fares eliminate accessibility for these families. In the real world, sometimes that extra dollar that y'all are asking for isn't there, and we have to accept the situation while providing for our people. So please approve the amendments for the Youth Opportunity Pass and the fare freezes to care for our people.
Thank you. We have 6 speakers remaining. We'll start with Tanya Ramirez, followed by Blair Beekman.
Good morning, Transportation Committee members. My name is Tanya Ramirez, Legal and Policy Fellow with Circulate Planning and Policy. I want to begin by saying that I share many of the concerns we've heard today. No one wants to see fare increase, and it's unfortunate that we've reached a point where this is being considered. But the reality is that MTS is facing difficult budget constraints and the choices before us are limited. After closely following MTS's budget challenges and weighing the available options, Circulate supports the proposed fare amendments because maintaining transit service must remain our region's highest priority. When transit agencies cut service, ridership declines, fare revenue drops, and systems can become trapped in what's known as a transit doom loop. Once that cycle begins, it becomes increasingly difficult to restore service or regain riders. Preserving frequent, reliable bus and trolley service is the best way to maintain ridership and protect the long-term sustainability of our transit system. We also know from MTS's public outreach that riders consistently prefer modest fare increases over service reductions. People depend on reliable transit every day to get to work, school, medical appointments, and other essential destinations, and maintaining that reliability is critical. At the same time, fare increases are not a long-term solution to MTS's structural funding challenges. We need continued leadership at the local, regional, and state levels to identify sustainable funding sources that keep transit affordable while maintaining the service riders depend on. For today, however, we believe preserving service is the best path forward. For these reasons, Circulate urges the committee to approve the proposed fare amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Blair Beekman, followed by Robert Johnson.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. Thanks a lot for everyone's public comment and the previous public comment. I think it's really important we have to really be clear on looking for alternate funding sources that don't involve fare increases. Thank you that you've done your studies that community would rather have the fare increase as opposed to losing services, but it's really important that we're keeping our fares down for low-income people. Thank you immensely that you're trying to work towards those good terms. Good luck what you can be developing and what was previously mentioned, working towards different funding patterns. I've described that if study sessions need to go on past September is supposed to be a time, you kind of have a outline scheduled, but if you need to work past September to work on fare freeze issues, Transnet funding. There's other sources of emergency funding through the fall if you need to do that, and to start the Fair Freeze program more formally in January. I mean, it sounds like you have things kind of together and it's kind of forming, but just as an additional precaution, I just thought I'd mention those things. Again, really good luck that this is the time. We were working on alternate funding streams before COVID, and then COVID hit, and then we got hit with 10 tons of money, and then we had to pay 10 tons of money back. And so now we're at the place we're at now. We were really working on different funding streams before COVID hit. So good luck we work on those concepts more seriously this time. We've been talking about it for a few years now, Mario has. So good luck what we can do to be preparing for that. And thank you for the steps you're taking at this time to try to work towards that. It's very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Robert Johnson, followed by Truth.
Okay, well, I think I'm coming in. I can't see my mic moving. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. One, I'd just like to state a point of clarification for procedural. I don't think that you guys are making motions. You guys are just saying, I motion to. So it would be great if the motioner would make a motion that is a complete motion. Two, when the speakers are being interrupted by members on the board, you need to pause our time. You don't get to interrupt our time to say what you want to say during our time. So I would hope that you respect our time and let us speak. I love the way you guys frame it. We're capping the rates, but this is a rate increase. So what happens the next time you guys want to increase the rates? Is the cap going to stay a cap, or is the cap going to be removed so you can increase it more? The idea that you're expanding services when in the next probably 2 years, you're going to be shutting down the South Bay area to do construction in the Chula Vista area. And then all of the routes that go to Mexico through Chula Vista are going to have extreme delays and extreme issues with all the service being interrupted. Yet none of the policies reflect where your interruption and what it actually means to the public, at least from what I could see reading through this document right now. It does address some other things, but California ID should...
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Truth, followed by Yabe.
These political paid speakers were funny. We don't want a fee increase, but we totally support it. I mean, the survey was based on fear mongering, and the only reason there's going to be only one zone for the coaster is for NCTD to collect the full $14 plus. The career politicians up for re-election will pretend to be against a fare hike just to get votes. They will pretend to care about low-income people, pretend to speak for low-income people, but will really benefit the wealth who already don't pay their fare, while forcing low-income people who do pay their fares to now pay more. No different than MTS's Copper Shuttle Scrooge, where they seek public input when they already had a third set of tracks built, aka this is a done deal. This is no different than the YOP program because neither are temporary pilot programs. In the early 2000s, there was no trash, no graffiti, no encampments, and no drug addicts on transit because everyone, including children, paid their fare. The youth opportunity at trafficking pass resulted in 40 million rides at either a $250 bus ride or a $14 coaster ride. That's $100 to $560 million revenue loss. NTS and NCTD have major deficits. I wonder why, but MTS doesn't care. That's why they're trying to make the citations that they already don't issue administrative only. And they're going to waste $2 million on that. You see, Steve Goebel often takes my line that a fare increase is not unfair, but he always omits my caveat, only if security is equally increased. Because when MTS stopped collecting fares in 2020, crime rose to 800 assaults in 2022. When they finally added more armed security, crime started going down, and MTS collected $1 million more a year in 2023. It's not enough because MTS has less than a 19% fare recovery. NCTD has a 48% fare recovery, but in 2011, they had 98% fare recovery. It has been proven that accountability and safety go hand in hand and are possible, and that's the only place the fare increase should go, not for unlimited general fund use by the corrupt union-controlled transit boards who will mismanage our tax dollars again. And the only way to permanently close the budget deficit gap is to collect the fares. Start doing that. Stop.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our final two speakers on this item will be Zah Yabe and Dale McEnany. Zah, you can go ahead.
Good morning. Transportation Committee, I am speaking in support of amendment proposal and ask that you support them as well, especially the proposal Fare Freeze program. I believe that keeping fare affordable and YOP to maintain the same level of ridership is very important for our community. And it has helped our community in many ways. Especially transportation was the main factor in our journey to places. Also, our community need the improvement of keeping the fare affordable for valuable rider who cannot afford increases but needed transit to their job and their children to school and many more places. From my personal experience, when I was in 8th grade, I used to go to a different middle school because I moved to a different apartment. And I took buses to school every day with my sister. Also, as a person who comes from a lower income family and come from a single parent as a refugee immigrant, I have experienced how meaningful buses can be. However, the cost of taking buses to places can be very expensive for our family. I remember there was a time when we didn't have enough money for bus. Me and my sister will wake up early in the morning and walk to school, even though it will take us a long time to get there or even late for school sometime. Thankfully, in my freshman year of college, free bus passes have exist. It have helped me and my family in many ways. I am so grateful for being able to take bus to college without being worried about the cost. Because of YOP, I have noticed in my community how much family are getting to places that they need to be without feeling left out or.
Thank you very much. Your time has expired. Our final speaker will be Dale McEnany. You can go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dale. I live in Chula Vista. Thank you also for pronouncing my last name right. That is the first time that's ever happened. So I'm here, like many other people, to speak against the fare increase, although admittedly, I know that it is a fiscal reality. But I think this speaks to the need of MTS and SANDAG to look into ways on how do we diversify our income. I am really optimistic and hopeful that SANDAG will continue to do community outreach and to keep groups like Mid-City CAN and City Heights CDC involved as it lobbies the state. You know, this fare hike is a lot. It's 40%. And even though it has been a bit lowered to $3 and $3.25, we would still be among the most expensive transit agencies in the country. And this is a little bit troubling because we don't have a comprehensive financial plan to address the structural deficit. You know, transportation is one of the highest costs of living in San Diego. Like, obviously there's rent and childcare, but transportation is pretty up there. And expanding public transportation is actually one of the ways that the people on SANDAG can tangibly lower the cost of living. And so I support Shawnila Rivera's amendment. I think it's super important that as we're discussing fare hikes and fixing the budget, that we don't forget about the people who need this to get to work and to live. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. And that concludes the public comments on this item.
Thank you. And I do want to thank all the public speakers for coming out and saying their words. Definitely heard, and I appreciate all the comments that have been made today. Comments, Vice Chair, did you want to start?
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair. Thank you for the presentation here. Thank you to all the public commenters. I want to say a special thank you to the young folks who shared your stories about why public transportation has been so important to you, about the ways that having access to transportation meant having access to opportunity and what you are doing with that opportunity. That's the whole idea, that your potential is limitless, and if you are simply given a chance to get to things like school and medical appointments and internship opportunities, you can achieve incredible things. And we are seeing that from the folks who shared their testimony today. So I know I had a lot to say last time about concerns about the fare increases. But I'll start by making a motion to support staff recommendation, and that's because we've now ensured that there is work happening to protect our lowest income riders from those increases. Yesterday, we received a presentation at the MTS Executive Committee about the beginnings of the development of a fare freeze program called LIFE. It sounds like NCTD had a similar conversation. The program would implement a freeze on fare increases, maintaining the current fare levels for riders who demonstrate active enrollment in public assistance programs, including CalFresh, Medi-Cal, CalWorks, and eventually to include the bridge program participants once established by the county. The program would bring in revenue and capture revenue from riders that would otherwise have been lost without these proposed fare increases. And that was going to be a significant amount of revenue. That's $2.3 million, a projected $2.3 million loss. It also ensures that we're not continuing to move down the road of the false choice for our riders, and especially our low-income riders, of them having to personally bear the burden or experience a reduction in service that they depend on. So I'm very glad that we're moving in this direction. I understand the need for increased revenue to support the system as a whole, and think that this is a way of mitigating the impact on people. But maybe even more importantly than that, I think it's a way of showing our lower income riders, and let's be clear about who that is. It's not, you can be a hardworking person in San Diego and still be poor. These are folks who are just trying to get to where they need to go. And this is a way of demonstrating that we give a damn about them. And my last comment here is I do really appreciate the public pushing on us to be more creative about where we find sources of revenue. And we heard ideas around revenue derived from tourism, from industries that depend on workers who depend on this system, yet are employers who refuse to pay their employees enough to not need public benefits, let alone be able to afford a car. There's no reason why in this region we can't be in a place where we can fully and properly fund a public transportation system that works for people of all incomes. It's just a matter of choices. And so I appreciate the public continuing to push on this for that. We can tax the rich and fund transit. We can tax the wealthiest corporations and fund transit. That's a choice that we can make, and it doesn't have to be on the backs of our lowest income riders. So with that, Chair, again, happy to support the motion in front of us, given the progress that we've made.
Thank you. Just as a quick introduction, do we have a second on the motion? Mayor Sanchez? Okay, Mayor Sanchez, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And I want to first thank staff for really addressing the issues and really putting it out there that this is a collaborative process, and that it is absolutely essential that that NCTD and MTS really be part and parcel, and really the main part of this whole process, and that SANDAG is really there to assist and per the requirements of the law to move this forward. So I think that there has been a suggestion that perhaps this process should be revamped and maybe it should be done at the board level of SANDAG. And maybe this was an example of why it shouldn't, because I think that it was these issues were able to be resolved in a way to protect the input of the public and to really keep it at that level until this process is completed. I think it's very clear that, and I think it needed to be clear that there are certain things that the transportation agencies continue to have the ability to do. For example, in this case, to freeze regardless of the resolution, which is to increase fares. So the agencies do retain the ability to decide how they're going to be able to manage these services on such a tight budget. I actually, as a student, college student, and a law student, completely relied on public transportation. I lived in Providence and was really happy to pay that $30 a month pass to get around the entire state. Okay, it was a small state, but yeah, the entire state. But also being able to go to law school in San Francisco and just have a really, really fantastic transportation network. There are places that we don't have that, especially in North County. And I know that we are constantly trying to figure out how to move a lot of people to mostly the same place at the same time, which is when transportation, public trans makes the most sense, because then you are using the facilities to the maximum degree. That is, hoping that everything is full. You know, the buses, the trolleys, everything. But I do support this. I do support this process as well as what I wanted to add to this conversation. And the board still retains the right to say up or down, yay or nay. So that, in fact, is still a really good process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Were there any other comments? Yeah, go ahead, Rafael.
I just wanted to make a comment on the fare freeze program. I heard during the presentation that there'll be the ability to apply and complete that online. I just hope that there's also the opportunity and workshops for people who lack the digital literacy or access to a smart device to complete that application in person or through other non-digital means. So I just want to make sure that there's equitable access for that, so that those that are most vulnerable who also lack access to those aren't being excluded from the program due to lack of digital literacy. Thanks.
And I can speak to NCTD. We do allow eligibility checks at our 3 transit centers in Oceanside, Escondido, and Vista.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Councilmember Moreno, did you want to speak?
Thank you for the presentation. I've been very vocal in emphasizing my dissatisfaction with the fare change study from the start. So I'm just very disheartened to be here, but nonetheless, here I am. Staff, there was a question at MTS about what triggered the fare ordinance. And if you could take me and the public through exactly what prompts the fare ordinance.
MTS and NCTD boards asked for a fare study. So SANDAG doesn't initiate these fare studies or changes without the request of the transit operators.
Got it. So you will never do a fare study just willy-nilly. It has to be the board of the transit agencies that requests the fare study to move forward.
I mean, technically we could, but we haven't and don't have any plans to do any fare studies without the requests coming from the operators.
Yeah, it is our practice to be respectful of the owner operators of the system. So we comply with the request they give us, but we don't initiate it.
Got you. And thank you for clarifying that you could without the transit agencies requesting. Is there a time frame from when the transit agencies ask? Do you by law have to move forward with the fare study?
I'm looking to our attorney here.
There's no specific timeline.
Okay, so it doesn't stipulate you have to do it in a year, you have to do it in 2 years. So technically an agency could hold off on the request. Because it goes both ways, right?
Technically, but it's not feasible. You know, we are a responsible agency. If our partners ask us to do something, we initiate that, especially if it's coming from the board of those agencies. We definitely are not going to sit on it, and we just start the work.
Got you. And I'll let the record show that I trust the leadership in SANDAG. I think this is for the benefit of the public to know what parameters we're working with here in the region.
I think it's also important to highlight that there are a lot of safeguards, right? This is not just coming from either a single agency. There are 3 boards who have to take actions and have to be in alignment up to a point, right? So the system has its checks and balances, and you, the elected officials, are in the different boards, those checks and balances, and a proven entity.
Thank you for taking me in the public through the process. Maintaining ridership is so vital to our public transit system, and decreases in ridership can lead to what we feared, especially during the pandemic, to the what I called the rider death spiral back in 2020. And since the pandemic, my perspective has been focused on building riders, and I think the fare increase will have an adverse impact on our ridership. Our riders are getting hit just left and right by increases everywhere, and our riders depend on the transit. So like I said, it's disheartening to be here. I will say that there are lessons learned from SANDAG's fare study, public outreach report. If I reference page number 3, it reads, future outreach phases should continue incorporating in-person engagement at transit centers to intercept riders and residents during their daily travels and gather feedback from a more representative group of transit riders. Additional strategies should be explored to increase participation among the lowest income riders who were underrepresented in the survey sample relative to previous surveys of transit riders. I think that point is really important, especially when we keep on hearing that our riders preferred fare increases over fare changes. So I wanted to put that on the record. It continues, targeted tactics may include partnering with community-based organizations serving low-income populations, offering incentives for survey participation, and expanding outreach at stops and stations in lower-income areas. I want to emphasize this is from SANDAG's Fare Study Public Outreach Report, our very own document that we published. These lessons learned signal to me that the fare change study didn't do enough to capture transit-related riders and meet them where they were. I think a fare change study must ensure riders who will be the most affected are engaged from the start as a best practice of public outreach. Now, to the fare freeze, I do have to thank my colleague, Vice Chair Shawnilo Rivera. We're always changing titles, so I have to keep up. I do want to thank Shawnilo Rivera for bringing up the fare freeze, which of course I am extremely supportive of as my capacity as an MTS board member. And also I want to thank the staff of MTS for the quick turnaround. But I will not be supporting this motion before us today, and that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Councilmember Edson.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank everyone for their comments, the public as well as the members of the board so far. I'd like to expand on Mary Dover's comments and just remind everyone that NCTD supports the proposed Regional Comprehensive Fare Ordinance. As I reported on June 12th, the proposed fare changes were anticipated to raise NCTD's fare revenue annually by approximately $650,000 in Phase 1 and $1.2 million in Phase 2. Fare revenue represents approximately 7% of NCTD's operating budget, or about $12.5 million annually. Also, as I previously shared, our board did not take the decision to raise fares lightly. We thoughtfully considered our riders' preferences for incremental fare increases versus service reductions against NCTD's very real need to secure additional precious, flexible operating dollars to help offset forecasted operating budget challenges. As this committee discussed last month, there is never a good time to increase fares, but decades of inflation in operating costs coupled with the unpredictability of future state and federal funding and the avoidance of fare increases for decades has left us with little choice. With that in mind, the boards and staff of MTS, NCTD, and SANDAG spent a great deal of time in the creation of an updated regional comprehensive fare ordinance, one that all parties felt they could live with. Then, as we learned last month, without discussion with their partners, in an 11th hour surprise, the board of MTS voted to adopt a low-income fare freeze program. That gave us a little bit of pause. So in response, yesterday during NCTD's board workshop, as Mary Dover mentioned, the first item on our agenda was an update from staff regarding the MTS board-approved low-income fare freeze. This new twist provoked an hours-long discussion, a many hours-long discussion, while our board remained united in our previous decision to support the proposed regional fare ordinance. We also gave great consideration to the word regional in the regional fare ordinance. So long story short, we came to a few conclusions. First, that if we choose to participate in the fare freeze, NCTD's anticipated revenue from the regional fare change would be reduced by approximately 2/3 in Phase 1 and by 1/2 in Phase 2. Second, that our board members would feel more comfortable if there were increased analysis of and review of the low-income eligibility standards adopted by MTS in their fare freeze program. And third, that all transit riders in our region have benefited from the ease and simplicity of the Pronto Card's regional fare structure. We reiterated that when NCT's board voted to support the updated regional fare ordinance, it came with the caveat, a letter to SANDAG requesting that a low-income fare program be studied. We continue to believe in the importance of thoroughly evaluating the financial impacts, pros and cons, and other aspects of a low-income fare program. We're afraid, we want to do it right if we're doing it, but with a desire to continue along the path of regional cooperation, the board unanimously voted to participate in MTS's low-income fare freeze program and further directed staff to bring additional information to the board to reevaluate participation in the program through the approval of our FY 2028 budget. So we're dipping our toes in the water. We want to stay cooperative and participative. We see the benefits. We strongly believe in a low-income fare program. We just want to make sure it's right. So this is a good start. And I thank Shanilo Rivera for bringing this so that we could have these conversations and at least, dip our toes in the water. Thanks.
Other member comments? Seeing, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank all our colleagues for their feedback here. Thank you, Member Edson. I did want to give Mark, if you'd like to, I think we have a chance to respond. Member Perez mentioned an important topic of conversation in yesterday's meeting about making sure that there's opportunities for folks to enroll if they don't have access to the internet or just find that much more challenging. So if you'd like to talk to how MTS plans on addressing that.
Yeah, so we have a customer service center, just like NCTD does, where people can apply in person for Pronto Life. So that's open during normal business hours. I think really we're going to look at this as a phase one rollout of the plan and of the program, and then continue to refine and make it better and better as time goes on. So those are types of things that we need to be very cognizant of. And, that digital divide is obviously real and we need to be very sensitive to it. And so, we are going to be mirroring the verification process that we have for YOP, and that has gone very well. And we have, almost 99% of YOP program participants verified, enrolled, and everything else. So I think we'll continue along that path and continue to refine it and make it better.
Thanks, Mark. And Member Perez, that last part about it mirroring the Youth Opportunity Pass and the lessons learned from that being incorporated into how this is going to be rolled out was really important for me and my team in having confidence that while it certainly won't be perfect because nothing is, we're not flying by the seat of our pants and creating something out of thin air and creating a new thing unnecessarily as well. So thank you for raising that issue. It was an important topic of conversation at the meeting yesterday. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments or questions? Thanks. So I did actually have a question of staff. I mean, part of doing this is to understand how our overall impacts of the programs will be. So presuming the measure passes and we roll this out, if and what is the mechanism after it's rolled out? Do we get data back to this body with respect to what the impacts have been around revenues and ridership?
Well, we can certainly come back with report outs on a quarterly, annual basis if you would like.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So yeah, we should just probably plan on that. We don't have to decide it right now because I think it's very important to be able to see the impact of this change, in particular with respect to Councilmember Edson's request about how the low fare, part is working out too, and just so we can discuss that here as a group.
Ridership data, though, is available on the Open Data portal, and it's always publicly available for this body and any member of the public.
Sure, but it's good to have a presentation and discussion here as well. Thanks. And yeah, thanks to staff and thanks again to all the public speakers for the robust discussion on this item. Just from my perspective, there's been a lot said. Heard it all. This is a very difficult conversation, as many people have said. I do think, addressing in particular the one comment about, should be exploring other options. I think one of the things that we're all aware of is that what's coming in the next few years is very large, and we need to explore all of the options, not just the other options, but all of the options. And this is one of them. It's not my favorite, but we have a huge fiscal challenge ahead of us, and this is one of the ways to potentially address that. And because of that, and being able to find out how it does impact our system, I'm certainly in support of the motion. And with that, I'll go ahead and call for the vote for the motion on the floor. Just to reiterate, the motion made by Vice Chair Ayuda Rivera is to approve staff recommendation.
The motion does pass with 7 yeses and 1 no.
Thank you. And again, thank you for everybody attending. Next item is Draft Regional Transportation Improvement Program. I see Richard, Antoinette, and Mario all as listed. Not sure who's kicking it off.
I think the team is going to be talking about the release of the RTIP today. We're asking permission to release it, and you'll see this is a snapshot of our window of projects within the next 5 years and how all this fits in the big picture of the regional plan. So, team, go for it.
All right, Richard, if you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide, please. So this is another process that can be a little bit confusing, so wanted to kick it off and just explain what the RTIP is, the differences between the RTIP, the budget, and the regional plan, but how they complement each other and work together. So you've heard us say many times that everything starts with the regional plan. Projects have to be in the regional plan to be eligible for state and federal funding. But the regional plan is many hundreds of projects that we expect to implement over a 25-year period. So in order to pare that down to, a reasonable list of projects that we have the resources to work on and focus on in the near term, we have to go through a prioritization process. We did that with the board last fall. We came up with criteria to evaluate projects and then came up with a short list that we called our project delivery strategy. And that's about 65 projects that we really want to focus on delivering over the course of the next 5 years. And we told the board at the time that there would be multiple opportunities for them to kind of take action on that project delivery strategy. The first was with the 2025 regional plan. So adopting that, all of those projects are in the 2025 regional plan. The second was the annual budget. So all of those projects had funding allocated to them in the annual budget, and the board adopted that budget in May. And then the last is the RTIP, the Regional Transportation Improvement Program. And this is really the 5-year investment plan that allocates and programs federal, state, and Transnet money to projects. And this is not just SANDAG projects, this is all of your jurisdictions projects as well. So to develop the RTIP, we spent a long time working with your staff to get all of your projects and all of our regional projects, state projects in the RTIP. So it's many billions of dollars, hundreds of pages, but a really important document because it shows how we're spending our federal, state, and local money to advance those priorities that you all have. So Richard's going to walk you through what the RTIP is, the requirements, how we got to today, and then Mario and I will wrap it up with a little overview of some of those big mega regional projects that are in the RTIP and that you'll be hearing a lot about over this fiscal year and beyond.
Thank you, Antoinette. So I'm Richard Radcliffe, and I am an associate financial analyst in the financial planning, budgets, and grants team here at SANDAG, and I am the lead on the RTIP. So just what is the RTIP? Well, the RTIP is the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, and it's a 5-year program of projects that implements the near-term projects in the regional plan. The RTIP includes projects from Caltrans and SANDAG, the transit agencies, and all member agencies, which include the 18 cities and the county, in addition to tribal areas and some other local agencies which receive transportation funds. Projects being implemented by SANDAG and or Caltrans must be approved through a SANDAG board action before they can be programmed in the RTIP. And projects sponsored by local agencies, transit agencies, and the state are also added to the RTIP after approval by those entities. The program is also required to help the region attain air quality goals and conformity with federal air quality regulations and state implementation plans. To assess air quality, projects in the program are classified as either capacity increasing or non-capacity increasing. And finally, the RTIP must demonstrate that the investments contained in the RTIP make progress toward national performance goals, with the 3 main performance measures being roadway safety, pavement and bridge, and system performance, freight, and congestion mitigation and air quality. The RTIP is a federal requirement that's mandated by Part 450 of the Federal Planning Regulations. And as the MPO for the San Diego region, SANDAG is required to develop the program. The RTIP must include all federal and state funded transportation projects in the region. It's required to be updated every 4 years. However, California updates their state transportation improvement program every 2 years. Another requirement is that the RTIP must be financially constrained by fiscal year, which means that there is sufficient revenue to fund the expenditures that are shown in each year. State and federal funds must be in the approved period of the program to be accessed for expenditures. In addition to the federal requirements, the Transnet Ordinance and Board Policy Number 31 also require that all Transnet-funded projects, called the Transnet Program of Projects, must be programmed in the RTIP. The programming of Transnet funds serves as the mechanism where payments cannot be made unless the funds have been programmed. This slide here provides some examples of the types of projects that you will see in the RTIP. There are regional plan projects, including capacity increasing and regionally significant projects, bike ped projects, and transit projects. There's operational improvement projects, including traffic calming signals and streetlights. There's also safety projects, which can include grouped listings and state listings, such as the Highway Safety Improvement Program. And then there are also operating and maintenance projects that can include pavement and bridge rehabilitation and drainage improvements. So a question we get asked quite often is, how does someone get involved with the RTIP? And the answer to that question is that there are numerous opportunities to get involved. The RTIP, like I mentioned earlier, gets updated every 2 years, and we also amend it quarterly. A public hearing is held every 2 years for the RTIP updates, and then amendments to the RTIP get posted for public comment on the SANDAG website. Also, for the 2-year RTIP updates, at the local jurisdictional level, a city council meeting is held to approve the jurisdiction's Transnet program of projects, and a signed council resolution is also required for those projects to be included in the RTIP. So the RTIP, as Antoinette mentioned, is a rather large document. It's over 500 pages in length. And while the document includes all 507 active projects in the project tables, it also contains more detail to support the financial constraint requirement, air quality conformity, the federal performance measures, and public involvement requirements. Many of the appendices in the RTIP are taken directly from the regional plan and further illustrate the tie of the RTIP to the regional plan. This slide here lists the chapters and appendices that I feel are the most relevant to this group. And then I will hand it now back over to Mario and Antoinette, who will walk through some of the major regional projects in the RTIP.
Okay, so again, everything starts with the regional plan, and this very busy map here is the hundreds of projects that are in the regional plan. And we went through that prioritization process, if you could click for me, Richard, to come up with that project delivery strategy to help inform which projects we would prioritize in the near term. And our budgeting process this last year, there's about 65 different projects that you can see on this map, those that can be mapped. So things like YOP obviously aren't on the map, but they are part of that project delivery strategy. Next slide. And while we can't go over all 500 projects in the RTIP, we thought we would highlight a few of the big ones that you're likely to hear a lot about. So first and foremost, Otay Mesa East Port of Entry and State Route 11, the construction of that facility is in the RTIP, and you heard from Mario in his update that we hit a major milestone with that project just recently. There are many rail improvements. So along the Low Sand Corridor, there are double tracking projects, there are bridge replacement projects, and of course the rail realignment project. But then in South County on the blue line, we have the San Isidro Transit Center improvements and the grade separation at Palomar in the RTIP. Numerous local bikeway projects and the big regional bike EAP projects that we're completing. So that includes projects like the Inland Rail Trail. For roadway projects, State Route 67 improvements, State Route 52 improvements are included, and the connector project 94-125. We have a really extensive rapid bus network in the regional plan, and we're planning over a half dozen of those rapid projects right now across the county. So those are in the RTIP, and those rapids benefit from an express lanes system. So they get priority in managed lanes, express lanes, and we are working on a handful of those express lane projects on the 5, the 805, 78 and 15 connector, 78.5 connector currently. So I want to hand it over to Mario so he can kind of show you what that express lane system looks like today and where we're going with the build out of that system.
Thank you, Antoinette. You're going to see here in the map how everything starts connecting together. We could talk about individual projects, and standalone projects have their own merits. But when you start connecting it with the regional vision, and even with the discussion of the prior item, talking about discounts and this different items like that and sustainability, if we do the layer of our express system map here, you're going to see that there are 3 projects Well, let me start. There are two operational projects already existing, right? We have the SR 125, we have the I-15. You know, this committee and the board will have actions during the year on those two existing facilities. One may be the refinancing of 125 that will later lead to the decision of the board of passing that to the state earlier than the due date. Another one would be a new roadside system in the I-15. And also, as we're working right now in our partnership with TCA on implementing a new back office and also implementing the DMV holds that do not exist right now. But there's also going to be other action items, and all those action items could be funding, policies, delivery strategies, and regional strategies also on implementation programs, how to fund mitigation, the transit funding, ride-sharing programs, the rapid network, and also highway improvements, because they're all connected. So we have two projects in partnership with Caltrans that are fully funded, which is the conversion of the HOVs on I-5 and 805 to be managed. But it's part of a broader vision. If you see the map, it should be a north-south corridor, and we are also working as a near-term project on the environmental document, what we call the Meadows section, that will connect that 805 with the 5 and basically make it a north-south connector for managed lanes. We also have, like we said, the 15, but the 15 needs to be connected with the 805, the 52. So those are projects in the near term. And we also have started environmental documents. Caltrans, I think it's getting ready also to do the final portion of the document of 78 I-15 after the draft circulation. The 578 has been kicked off, and we're also actively looking to the funding to be able to finish the missing portion of the I-5 HOVs that takes you from 78 to 76, which is a major bottleneck that happens every single day, especially on the weekends also for that section in North County. So you could see that OME State Route 11, we're going to have major policy decisions. We do not have a tolling policy in SANDAG. So we will have to have those discussions. There are going to be multiple discussions, like I mentioned, and it's not just about this network, but it's how it connects with other endeavors and strategic ideals that this agency and the board and TC will develop. So those are things that are coming up. It's going to be a very active next 12 months on making a lot of key decisions and strategic decisions, policy decisions, funding decisions on how to move forward with this, because it's not just about moving cars. It's part of a broader vision that complements both the mobility and the financing of this agency.
Richard, do you want to talk about next steps?
Yes, thank you. So, okay, so here are the next steps and the remaining important dates for the rest of the 2027 RTIP process. On July 1st, project submissions were finalized. And then on July 8th, the draft 2027 RTIP was presented to the Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee, or ITOC. And then on today, on the 17th, the draft RTIP, 2027 RTIP is being presented to the Transportation Committee. And then on July 24th, the draft 2027 RTIP will be presented to the Board of Directors, and the board will be asked to approve the release of the draft 2027 RTIP for a 30-day public comment period. The draft RTIP will then be posted for 30 days, and then we will come back to the Transportation Committee on September 18th, where we will hold a public hearing on the proposed final 2027 RTIP. And then finally, we will bring the proposed final 2027 RTIP to the board for adoption on September 25th. The final 2027 RTIP is due to the state by September 30th, 2026. and we expect federal approval of the 2027 RTIP on or around December 16th of this year. I appreciate you all giving us some of your time this morning. For more information on the 2027 RTIP or the development process, please visit the RTIP webpage, which is the first link that's provided here. And you can also visit the public-facing RTIP database called Project Track, which will allow you to see pending amendments and adoptions as they are in progress. The middle link on this slide will take you directly to the draft list of the 2027 RTIP projects. I've also provided my email here in case anyone wants to reach out about the RTIP directly. Thanks again, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Francesca, do we have any public speakers?
Thank you, Chair. We have 3 public commenters on this item. We'll start with Cesar Javier. This is item number 5.
Value analysis. RTIP has a very strong correlation to audit oversight on performance fiduciary aspects. Why? Because these are the guidance for improvement as written here. Improvement. Number 2, which confuses us, is a paragraph in the overview saying we have $22 billion program for 5 years, 27 to 2031. And the next sentences says total funds program during the 5-year period is 4.2 billion. We could only visualize this as a kind of, oh, SANDAG is on the right direction because the projected funding is 22 billion for other improvement programs, and yet you are only budgeting 4.2 billion. Campaigning, like what we experienced with the city of San Diego. Correct, Councilor Rivera? Correct, Ma'am Vivian Moreno? This is our doubt. This is our fear because we are taxpayers too. And we value every cent. Sirs, Ms. Names, forgive us. We are not threatening anyone. We are not violent taxpayers. We just want the truth.
Thank you very much. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Jillian Quint, followed by Robert Johnson.
Hello, I'm Jillian Quint, the River Trail Advocacy Manager with the San Diego River Park Foundation. Good morning, Chair Zito, members of the Transportation Committee, SANDAG staff. I'm here to share the incredible momentum regarding a project in your 2025 regional plan, the West Valley River Crossing. We recently achieved a milestone at the city level. The San Diego City Council unanimously approved the city's annual budget with $750,000 allocation championed by Council LaCava to fund the 30% design engineering study for the crossing. Mayor Gloria has signed the budget, officially activating CIP project S24004. This funding provides a critical design anchor for the corridor, and we look forward to working with the city staff to deploy these funds and get the engineering study underway. SANDAG, we appreciate this project's inclusion in the regional plan, but to keep moving forward, we need clear timelines to understand exactly where the West Valley River Crossing sits in the RTIP, Regional Active Transportation Plan, and implementation timeline. With the city stepping up to fund the initial design, we urge SANDAG to match this commitment, step in, and join this momentum to fully realize the West Valley River Crossing, a significant regional transit forward asset. Thank you.
I think our final speaker will be Robert Johnson. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so, for everybody who doesn't look at what they're telling you to look at, This has to do with the managed lanes, and then they're going to say how it's to help with traffic and decongestion, yet you're going to charge people to take a lane. So the people who can't afford to pay to drive in that lane will be charged. I mean, we are so trying to help low income people, and yet you're going to screw all the rest of us, right? In Chula Vista, we pay for the SR 125 just to get to our homes, right? You guys continue to charge us and then go, it's for the greater good of our organization, not for the people, but for our organization. Well, you do know that your organization is supposed to represent the people. So we're going to sit here. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's a member from Chula Vista in the room. At least I haven't heard them speak at all. So you guys are deciding all these things that are going to affect Chula Vista without having representation for Chula Vista in the room. I'll go back to some of the others. It's funny because I brought up the Palomar stuff on the last item, and then it's part of this item. And I'm telling you, that's going to cause delays, disruptions, chaos. And you guys are saying, well, yeah, we know it will. And we're still going to charge you more, even though you're not going to receive the services you're paying for. So, you guys want all this federal money. I like how you left the ICE on the policy on the last one, immigration and customs. Definitely everybody, when they hear that, is going to freak out, right? Because you guys are supporting ICE, right? That's what you guys are allowing them.
Thank you. Your time has expired, and that concludes the public commenters.
Thank you. Do we have any committee member comments or questions on this item? Missing a few. No. I don't see anybody with comments or questions. Guess you did an excellent job. Thanks for that. Just again, for clarity, this is just to release it or to recommend to release it. And then we'll be actually talking more about the details of the meet next time. Folks, we're going to be voting soon. Would you like to get back to your seats, please? Anybody have a motion? Move approval. A second by Councilmember Mendoza. Seeing no other comments, go ahead, please vote.
That motion passes unanimously with those members present.
Thank you. With that, we'll move, and thanks again to staff. With that, we'll move on to the last item on the agenda, which is the downtown multi-use and bus labor facility project updates. Looks like we have Omar, Rick as the presenters.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing us to present this update on the downtown bus stopover. Today with me, I have Brett Broyd, who's the MTS Director of Planning and Scheduling, and Rick Brill, who is the project manager on the project. And my name is Omar Tay. I'm the principal engineer in charge of project management. We presented this item at MTS yesterday, so thanks for listening to it again for those of you who were there yesterday, but hopefully go through and hope to provide an informative presentation. I'm going to pass over to Brent to go through some of the operational.
Can I say something? I just want to open up with the board gave us guidance on this project, and the guidance was build whatever you can right now with what you have. So this is what you're getting, the presentation. It's satisfying the needs that MTS has right now, and the concern of City of San Diego that there are buses being parked in city streets. So the presentation today is focused on that, on what we can do with the existing property that we have. So I just want to make that very clear.
Thank you, Mario. Brent Boyd, Director of Planning and Scheduling for MTS.
This is a very important project for both us and SANDAG. We believe we have hundreds of buses that come into downtown every day. They're coming as far away as Escondido, Otay Mesa, and they come into downtown and terminate here. When they terminate in downtown, they need about 15, 20 minutes or so for a break. So that provides the operator a chance to use the restroom, take their mandated break, and so on, and also give enough recovery time for the buses to end their inbound trip. They might be running a few minutes late, gives them enough schedule recovery to depart their outbound trip on time. So the layover facility would provide a location for those buses. Right now, we lay over those buses all over downtown San Diego. In a couple slides, I have a map showing all the curb spaces that we are taking up. What happens is those curb spaces are dedicated to MTS operations, whether a bus is there or not. When a bus is there, there's no passenger loading or unloading. It's simply a storage place for the buses, and that curb space is not being able to be used for other purposes. The other benefit of the downtown layover is for operator safety and quality of life. Right now, again, they come in, they could be laying over all over downtown San Diego. We have portable restrooms in the current layover facility location, the future layover location. They may have to walk a few blocks to use the restroom, and this could happen at any time during the day, anytime from about 4 a.m. to 1 a.m., all times of day and night. They'll be walking through downtown to use the restroom, and that also takes up some valuable break time. So improve quality of life and safety for the operators. This map that you see here, what the photo is a bus laying over on B Street at India. And that's in front of a business, Downtown Works. We've actually met with them. They are frustrated about the lack of parking available at their location due to our bus layover location. And that is true for many blocks in downtown San Diego. You see that location identified on the map there, B Street in India. In the photo, you see another bus behind it, the block behind. You see that is a block between Columbia and State. We have 4 straight blocks on B Street that are dedicated to bus layover zones, as well as Union and on A Street. So getting these buses off of the curb spaces into a facility would benefit both MTS and the region as a whole. The other benefit that I mentioned is operators. Again, they can be stopping at any of these locations, and they need to get to the block there identified as the proposed site to use the restrooms, which are identified there, just portable restroom facilities. So that's kind of a summary of the existing conditions and why we need this project. I'll turn it back over to Omar.
So the project location is, like Brent mentioned, between A and B Street and between State and Union. Previous efforts really focused on property acquisition, but as Mario mentioned, we've really diverted our attention to delivering something a little more quickly and efficiently. So we are currently working on developing the site as with the property that we own to try to get as many of these buses off the streets and on this site. The current site has some limitations, and this is kind of pointing out some of the site constraints. So in the upper left, this is the northeast side of the lot, and that parking lot sits about half a story on the back of the buildings. So it's kind of elevated from the storefronts there. In the top middle photo, you can't see in the photo too well, but there's a little bit of grade breaks. So obviously buses need nice, smooth transitions. So that's something that we'll have to work through in engineering. On the right, there's a significant curb that picks up the elevation difference between the parking lot and the sidewalks. And then in the bottom left, there's some slope paving. That slope's about 4 or 5 feet high. It's in the middle of the 2 properties that SANDAG owns. And so none of these are really big issues, just trying to point out the site limitations and things that we can design through. As we mentioned, the focus is to redevelop the site as the property that we own. So we put out procurement to get some consultant support to help come up with some interim solutions. So you see on the right some concepts that were part of that. Really, our focus is on the layout of the site and getting buses to circulate through there, and really finding a way to fit as many buses as we can on site. So this is something that we just got from our consultants the other day. There's quite a few alternatives, but we want to present 1 or 2 of them to kind of give the committee a taste of what we're looking at. So this is one of the alternatives that shows in this scenario, the buses will enter on A Street and exit on the bottom of the page out B Street. And you see kind of 2 bus drive aisles. This has approximately 11 Arctics and coaches that can be stored on site. In the top right corner, you can see some space for staff parking. parking and some space for the operators to have a restroom or a trailer that they can go and like Brent mentioned with their turnover to have a space for that. So this is one idea to kind of maximize the space and make sure the buses can move through here. We've run turning templates and all that kind of stuff to make sure that things are running smoothly. But again, we also work closely with MTS and their operators to make sure that this is a workable solution. This is another alternative. So instead of having the two drive aisles, you have parking in the middle here. So this one's approximately 12 buses of Arctics and coaches, which are what are currently laying over in the area. So you see the parking in the middle. Again, in the upper right, some space for the operators to have restrooms and to be able to turn over and some parking relief as well. So as far as schedule is concerned, like I mentioned, we kicked off our efforts to come up with some good alternatives in the spring, and there's some background information we need to do to make sure that we have all the mapping, utilities, all the engineering based information that we need to really develop reasonable solutions. We're in the middle of that right now, so we're trying to finalize the feasibility study, and we're working with MTS and the city to understand, what's their preferences, which one of these alternatives will suit them the best. In the fall, we're going to finalize the feasibility study. We'll do what we call PSR-PR, which is a project study report or a project report that looks at all the alternatives, really documents what we did and the decisions we made. And really what we're trying to hone in is on one good viable solution that we can move forward into design. So in the winter, we'll finalize that report, make sure that we have an environmental study. It's got some limitations, so we want to make sure that we fit within that. And if we don't, understand what ramifications that has. But ultimately, our goal is to take this one alternative and move it into the next phase, which is the final design phase. We're estimating, depending on the design, we still have to get permits from the city and do some additional engineering. Expecting that to take about a year to complete design and then another 6 months on top of that to get out to construction. But again, we're looking for ways to sort of improve that and deliver it more quickly. So as far as next steps, we want to make sure that we're reaching out to the community and work with MTS on the stakeholder interactions. Generally, I think it's going to be positive in that, like Brent mentioned, we'll be taking some of the buses and taking them off the street. So I think we'll get positive feedback there. We will work with MTS and the city on getting these viable solutions. We'll finalize our project study report and again, check them against the environmental study. And then we will move on to the engineering phase. So with that, I will open up for any questions.
Thank you. Francesca, do we have any public speakers?
Thank you, Chair. We have 3 public speakers on this item. We'll start with Cesar Javier and then Robert Johnson.
Clearly, this is the product of oversights and audit on performance and fiduciary aspects. We expect additional 300 buses by 2035. If we may respond to this challenge, we may say, why do we have to still wait 2035 when we could plan starting this moment to bring about settlement, sheltering outside of the downtown San Diego, a dense political area, geographic area. Right, Councilor Rivera, sir? Ma'am Vivian Moreno, isolated city from the main city. It's a challenge. And there is a solution for it. If we work together for good, better, best, what can you say, my dear? We are in our twilight years and we are very keen of serving. Historically, it says, we draw the line east to west, like the Pacific Railway. Can we not adapt back to the basic? Sir Mario, we can sell our marketing strategy by saying City of San Diego, build somewhere away from the dense populated downtown. I think that is one solution. Is it expensive? It may be, but we...
Thank you very much. Your time has expired. Our next speaker will be Robert Johnson, followed by Blair Beekman.
So the problem started because they needed to use the bathrooms. And then you showed several images from several different areas. Like I believe one of them was even San Ysidro. And back when they were releasing a bunch of people from the ICE detainment center and just dropping off with the bus, they would all see that bathroom and go, man, I got to use it, but no one else could use it, you know? And it'd be nice as a public service for public to have bathrooms too. I saw in some of the renditions, it was like one bathroom. Well, you're going to need a male's bathroom, you're going to need a female's bathroom, and then you're going to need a bathroom for what, everyone's family or whoever everybody else thinks they are. And so if you guys are going to design a bathroom for your space of workers, isn't it like a priority for you to give them enough bathrooms like we give at the schools to separate between all the different types of bathrooms that we need? I mean, you could even go as far to plan ahead and squish the poop on site into the water bottles and filter it all there. You could plan for it now, and then everybody would know that they're drinking the poop water, right? Like, or you could say it's not drinkable, it's just for washing your hands. Or maybe you just water the plants with it, right? You want to do all these great things for the community. I mean, it looked like you were taking away parking, and then you're going to take away more parking to allow the buses to park where the cars were parking. Anyway, I really, have you ever considered putting bathrooms on the buses? Did that ever idea come to your guys' head? I mean, you guys come up with a lot of ideas, so I'm just trying to throw out some more like sustainable ones, right? You guys want sustainability. You got to do it.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Blair Beekman. You can go ahead.
All right, thank you. Blair Beekman. I'm sitting right by my phone, and when you call for Zoom, I pick up my phone, I push to raise my hand, and then you say that's all the speakers for this item. And I'm doing it like a second. My hand goes up a second after the call goes out. And we used to have a system where you would allow people to speak a second after you made the final call, and you're not doing that anymore. And so I'm not getting allowed time to speak. So I'm going to make my attempts to raise my hand sooner. But can you return to the system where if a person raises their hand just a few seconds after the final call, can you still allow that person to speak? Just an ask. I know you're kind of trying to work more efficiently, but I prefer the previous system. I'm getting left out here, and I'm not doing anything wrong, really. It's just slow to pick up the phone to raise my hand. With that all said, thank you for this item. Thank you for the previous public comment that I've always thought the idea would be really nice if you could consistently work on a driver's bathroom and a public bathroom, and from the previous speaker, possibly a handicap bathroom as well. Those would be 3 bathrooms to line up that I think would be a great idea that people need. I mean, all sorts of people need. In terms, if there is any sort of data collection that happens with this item, just a friendly reminder, and from the previous item, that our tech accountability, what we do well, it's a continuously learning and growing process. It isn't static. And good luck how we make our tech accountability a learning process, and always ever learning process and growing. And we make good new policies out of that quickly and not taking forever to make good new policies. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments on this item.
Thank you. Do I have any committee members' comments or questions of staff? I am seeing, sorry, did someone? Okay, great. Yeah, good presentation. I am seeing none. I do have a question myself, which is in the context of doing this with respect to the facilities that are being planned. Are those going to be of a more permanent type, or would this also be using porta potties and that kind of stuff?
Hopefully it's something a little better than porta potties, like
That's
a bathroom
right.
trailer or something like
Yeah.
that. And I want to clarify something, maybe I didn't get in my presentation. This is a private facility for MTS. This isn't a public facing facility. So this will be just for the operators.
Right, that was my next question. But again, we are striving to do something nicer than like porta potties, and because if it's probably going to be there for a while, so it'd be nice for it to have some aesthetic appeal to it then.
Correct. And we have some flexibility there and open to any suggestions from MTS.
Okay.
We also own the buildings adjacent, so that's going to be like also analyzing if we could actually connect an entrance from to the buildings that we have there, the old Aladdin building, bail bonds building. So maybe that one, but we also need to replace the roof on that.
Yeah, great. That's nice. It would just be nice to make it look a little bit nicer since it'll probably be there for a while. But other than that, seeing no other comments or questions, this was an information item. Thank you for the update. I have to admit, I was kind of curious because I think this came to the board about 8 or 9 years ago as just an update. And I had been wondering, like, whatever happened to this property? And now I know. So it's good to know. I'm glad the board gave the direction to start making some use of it. It's a good project. And with that, the next this item's over. Thanks again. Next Transportation Committee meeting is scheduled as a special meeting on July 31st at 9 a.m. And we are adjourned. Everybody have a great weekend.